Welcome.
Hi, yeah. I'm Xiao Lung. I lead design at Graphite. We're a dev tools company. First off, thank you for speaking and showing. It was great to see all the work you've been doing, your team's been doing. One thing that I've been really thinking about, as I'm leading the design team at Graphite, is the impact that AI has had on the product development cycle. And I'm curious to understand, like at Hebbia, how has that changed things? How has like the design team, maybe in particular, been impacted by some of these changes?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks for the question. So just to read it back to you, how it has the product development life cycle evolved, like with AI growing more prevalent. Cool. I think there's like a few different ways we've seen it on our team. I'll caveat that like we're a quite small team at the moment, so this answer might be different for like a much larger org. I think for us, it's allowed us to, I think, flex into spaces that we couldn't before. So, for example, for illustrations, I'll just like rapid fire a bunch of stuff. I think for like art direction, we didn't until recently, we didn't have someone who could really help us with that. And so before we would maybe take 8 hours to do something kind of mid. Now we could do like something kind of mid in 1 hour. And now we have a creative director who can do it great in 30 minutes, So I think it's helped us like flex outside of like our core capabilities in terms of just like broadening even within design without even getting to code. And then I think with code, it's kind of like what I showed today, where we can start to propose like much crazier things where like before, that prototype might have taken me like 2 weeks to code, and then I would have showed it to some engineer who's like, we're not doing that, right? And now it's like there's no excuse not to do it other than like, thinking more deeply about the design and what the flow should be. And so I think it's just fundamentally like raised the floor of like what is possible and what is expected of all of us. So like I'm saying all three of us, like we've all pushed code to the code base at least once. Like we all have Cursor, and actually one thing that's like really satisfying is like low-hanging fruit that drives us insane as a design team, but that's hard to prioritize for a strapped engineering team. Like we can just be like, well, we got it. We can take it from here, And so it also frees our engineers up to focus on like the crazy, like back end, high complexity, visionary stuff, while we make sure like everything is teed up on the design side.
Yeah. And a slight follow-up to that is like, have you seen your PMs using AI? Aside from production work, do you use it for research or kind of explorations? Yeah, you showed some of the prototyping aspect, but what about when you're like exploring UX concepts or directions?
Yeah. So it's super valuable at the strategic phase, again, with like dog fooding our own product. We will actually upload like all our gong calls into a matrix and then like quickly pull out like, okay, here's where the pain points that they had. And like even like research, product strategy, like it's actually, again, like everything is the same. It's the same workflow. We have a bunch of data. We want to apply the same lens of analysis on it. So I think that's where it's like really cool, where we like kind of like dog food our own product in terms of strategy and research. There's also like, we have these things called every time we like win a customer, we like send out an email. And so we have an automation that like those emails gets piped into Hebbia and then you add it to a WinWire folder. And then so we can also do analysis on like, here's all the wins we had, and like, start to like extract those themes like really, really quickly, where like what used to be like a corny like General Assembly, I went to General Assembly, so it's okay. Post-it notes, like 8-hour session with like 2 days of putting everything into a report is like now like a much quicker exercise for us.
Yeah, awesome.
That's awesome. I think it's so cool that what I caught there is you're taking your sales calls, gong, so sales conversations, and you're batch feeding them into intelligence to come up with a list of product priorities?
We will pipe every single gong call transcript into Matrix, and then be like, here's what they complained about, here's what they said worked, here's what they compared, here's how they compared us to our competitors, and then we can get as granular with it as we want. I wouldn't say it's like doing the full-on insights, but it's like giving us the like, you know, the post-its on the wall in like seconds, you know, and then letting us sort of pull from it as we want.
That's super cool. Amazing. Xiaolong, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, we are moving right along. I saw your hand up. Come up and join us. Round of applause one more time. We have a new guest coming up. Let's make him feel good.
Okay.
Who are you?
Nerves a little
No,
bit
you're
when you made me
good.
put my hand all the way up.
Oh,
but
no.
glad to be here. Thank you again.
Thank you.
With the live demo. That was exciting.
Yeah.
My name's Seth. I'm a former UX engineer, and now I lead product at a company called Harmonic.
Nice to meet you.
The question that I wanted to ask you as the head of design at Hebbia, we chatted a bit about, chat, and, that's where a lot of this began. Then we were all kind of like, chat's not the end all be all. Like, how do we develop better workflows? And then the resurgence of chat a little bit, and kind of wondering your take about how you think kind of like design strategically, like what are the UX paradigms across the platform that you're trying to push forward, experiment? Like, how do you think about chat versus workflows? I don't know if you guys are playing with like background agents and like the side panel versus in the Chrome. Like, how have you done different experiments to push that forward? Have you had any big learnings where you're like, we tried this thing and now we got to kind of like fold it back in a different paradigm? Like the bigger picture, like UX strategy to push forward Hebbia and the UX paradigms within it. I'm very curious your take.
Got it. Okay, so try and read this back to you. We know that chat is this kind of beginner starting place. We're not convinced that that is the final form. What are some experiments and patterns we're experimenting with to see if the paradigms are changing? Not as cogent as I want.
And how do you like think about really trying to like push the envelope with new ideas or experiments?
Yeah, I think again, I'll go to inputs and outputs. Looking outside of traditional AI products, I think there's really interesting, like there's so many different ideas of, workflow is a hot thing right now, but actually to us, like a matrix is a workflow, right? Do this, then based on those, do this. But like for some people, a workflow is better visualized as, the freeform canvas where you drag the nodes together. And like there's different preferences, and like we think again, everything is the same. And it's just finding the right sort of way to communicate that. So, we're experimenting with canvases, spreadsheets, chats, drag and drop, like, you name it, VST plugins. I think like right now where we're actually more interested is less so in like what is the one sort of like silver bullet paradigm, and more so like how do those all connect together? Because each one is actually different at a different stage of the process for a financial professional, just to keep it in this. So, I might start out with saying like, I wonder what companies meet XYZ criteria. I might just start that as a chat, and then I get a response. And now I'm like, actually, I need to throw these in like a grid and like kind of now evaluate these on these other criteria. And it's like, oh, actually now I need to take that and like turn this into like a report that I can sort of, present at my company. And then I actually need to email this with like a paragraph summary. And so for us, it's like what we're really excited by is like we can keep adding whatever new interface, but it's like how do those all interplay? Because it's more of a question of like where you are in your journey than like what is the one that is gonna like solve it all the way down.
I like that a lot. I mean, I feel like traditional software, right? You really thought about like, this is the core user journey, and it's like task 1, task 2, screen 1, screen 2. And like the idea that you're conveying is like, you're building this toolbox of all these different like amazing capabilities and different form factors.
Yeah.
But then I think there is a really interesting challenge of like, how do you put that all together in a way that still feels like cohesive and powerful and flexible?
Yeah.
But I think that's a really interesting like kind of direction that all this is heading.
I would imagine Harmonic.
Yeah.
I would imagine Harmonic is working through similar problems.
To some degree, yeah. I think we think a lot about like different tools that the agents can use, and then how do you enable some sort of workflow that has the right amount of flexibility. And like, I think we started with maybe a little bit many, constraints, kind of thinking about how traditionally UIs are built, and you see some of the gaps there when you want to like jump from one jog to the next, and actually now I need to kind of like back out of the context I was in, navigate away to a different page. So I guess maybe like platforms and products that are more like flexible and powerful in that way is a pretty, maybe like towards the direction of like dynamic UIs that I think you and Chase had mentioned. I don't know, it's an interesting, and I think this is the fun part about like designing with AI is like so much of the principles and user journeys seem to be changing.
Yeah.
100%.
I mean, what you're describing is like, it almost feels, I can viscerally sort of connect to it, because that's literally where we're at, where like these output types right now for us are kind of like these like one-way paths.
Yeah.
And like, we already know that that's not like how people want to use them. You shouldn't have to start a chat and then paste the chat response into this other tab of the thing. It's like fucking ridiculous, right? Like, so like, yeah, the connectivity is almost to me more exciting, because you can keep adding and taking out pieces, but it's like actually the flow and the fluidity, like that's like the magic of like, oh, this is so easy and fun and entertaining, right? Like, yeah.
Right.
What if chat though is the ultimate parent container though, like that natural
I
language?
think it's pretty realistic that for like the near term, chat and voice is the glue of those things for sure.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Thanks for sharing.
Awesome.
Thanks for asking.
Thank you for joining us. A round of applause for our second guest. All right. I remember we had one more. Are you over here? Please join us. Front row really showing up. Thank you very much.
For having me.
Of course.
I'm very new to all this.
Hello and welcome.
Hello, I'm Anushriya. You can call me Anu as well. I'm a founding product designer at Hadrius. So these questions are coming from where I'm designing something by myself, and now hiring as well. So these questions that you asked were really helpful. But the one thing that I wanted to probe you a little bit more on was, how are you designing the chat? What was the problem that you were actually solving with the chat interface?
Yeah. So I think there's a few lens here for us with chat. Like historically, that was not a priority for us. Like we were like a generalist power AI tool, and recently we've both narrowed into finance and heard from our market that chat is table stakes. They expect it. They put our Hebbia next to our competitors, next to ChatGPT, run the same, like they literally do this in our pilot bake-offs. And so there's a few lens, like now that we're putting like a lot of kind of drive behind it, I think there's sort of functional parity with like basically, there are, lucky for us, there's some good, pretty solid established patterns here now in terms of interface and the right amount of complexity and the latency, right? And then I think like after we get to just baseline parity, it's about how do we specialize for finance? So do we introduce some like very finance specific widgets, whether it's like comparing stock performance? A lot of times actually like our users, for example, they will use chat as a way to like start building out a presentation. So they'll be like working on a slide in a PowerPoint slide in another tab, and to fill it out, they will then go to ChatGPT or wherever else, ask a question, then paste that into their slide. So actually for us, like being able to export chats as slides is like a really quick, optimization that makes that person's job way easier. Where like now I'm not it's one less back and forth, right? And so that's one very small example. But I think for us, the verticalizing and getting really specific in finance is going to actually enable us to greatly improve and like specialize our chat experience.
Makes sense. Another follow-up on that is, do you think AI, how we are using it as a chatbot right now, but instead of AI being the back-end power, you're using it at front end so much, and the chat is the result of it? Do you think powering back end would make more sense with AI rather than having front end solutions?
Can you tell me what you mean by powering backend versus front end?
So just any flow, when you think of a problem that the user needs to complete this so and so, why not power the backend that the user gets it upfront rather than having to chat through it and getting the answer out of it? For example, if you have certain data and I want patterns out of it, rather than me asking for patterns, the backend just tells me, this is a pattern and you should care about it.
So is this like making AI more proactive?
Yeah, sort of.
Cool. Because when I think of backend, and just correct me if I'm going off track. Like, I want to use Matrix as an example. Sorry, I keep bringing up Hebbia, but so sometimes like Matrix, like that spreadsheet that you kind of see, sometimes that is the output, right? Where I share that thing. Sometimes like I actually don't care about it. That's my database. And so I don't know if this is kind of scratching at what you're saying, is like sometimes you're using AI to just give you the answer versus like using AI to codify how you want the information organized. Is that answering what you?
Yes, sort
Okay.
of. Just want to understand, because I see so many products using AI for the front end as a chatbot, but they're not really powering their backend, which should be more on how are things getting back to the users rather than them have to do something about it.
Yeah.
They just get it upfront.
Got it. So I know Hebbia has also like invested heavily in like patented retrieval. So even the way we query and store and organize data to, provide a response is what gives us the accuracy at scale. So I do think that's something that's like actually very important, and competitors are realizing they need to invest in this space. And yeah.
You said that you fought chatbot for a while. So I think that was my origin of the question, that I wanted to probe you a little bit more. Another question I'm sure somebody would have thought from the group is, why didn't you go for gradient when you were designed for AI? Because I think the usage of gradient has become so common for resembling AI.
Yeah, I think that's like the shortcut to be like, hey, AI shit over here, gradients, like, yeah. I think like that's like a quick, to move fast and like, yeah, why not lean in? I think we're actively thinking about, from both a brand and product perspective, like what are some more kind of original and like Hebbia coded ways to visually kind of tell that story?
Makes sense.
Awesome.
Yeah, thank you so much for answering it.
Thank you.
for joining us. Thank you very much. Round of applause. That I think we're gonna call time. We've kept you, Arjun, up here for quite a while now, and you were awesome at just letting us ask you questions, letting everyone here ask you questions.
Thank you.
I wanted to hold off for a second. I wanted to get a round of applause for you. However, I want to make it special because I was saving the surprise for the end. Saturday, today's Thursday. Saturday, you're flying to Morocco.
Yes.
Because Arjun is getting married. So, congratulations.
Thank you.
Came here, did this, helped us pilot this as you were getting ready for your wedding. You're very cool in my book for doing that. So,
Thank you. You guys are so professional. I would have had no idea that this is your first time doing this. It was like, this is well done.
hell
Thank
yeah.
you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Got anything left to say?
That's a wrap.
Yeah, thank you guys
everyone.
so much. We have the space for a little while longer. Let's stand up to a round of applause. We're done. Thank you.
We're done.